Yeah, I'm Alwyn Doolan here. I'm a Gurang Waka Waka man. Currently on the Messy Stick Walk. Just arrived here on Palm Beach, New South Wales. Walked all the way from the Bamaga, from the Cape York. Taking a Messy Stick to the Australian government in Canberra upon treaty negotiations with First Nations people. Our two worlds here of our First Nations people and non-Aboriginal people of healing together, putting in motion of our nation, of moving forward together as a nation, and healing our wounds of our history, of our past, and making it better for the next generation to come, picking up that banner for them so that we make a change now for the future. So I've walked from Bamaga, which is up in Queensland, up at the tip of Queensland, up at Cape York, right up there. Walked all the way to here now. So far it's taken me 8.5 months. And yeah, yep. And I've just clocked over 5,000 kilometres so far by foot with these feet right here in 5 pairs of shoes. Yep. I've got about 3,000 kilometres to go. So yeah, about 5 more months until I get to Canberra, because I'm going via Tasmania and Melbourne. So yeah, I'm going to reach out to as many communities as I can. That's what the Messy Stick Walk is about. It's it's not about me, it's about us here. Youth Mob here coming out together and sharing your relative issues of what you're facing in your community, or your opinion, your voices being heard. And I share that with the neighbouring country, neighbouring community that I go to next.
I'm Neil Evers. I'm a direct descendant of the Gadigal people. This is Gadigal country, and I pay respects to my elders past and present, and we welcome you to our country. For thousands of years, our ancestors told the truth. That's why we still have it today. It just went on and on. So we welcome you to our country, and the smoking is to give you free passage through our country. Welcome, brother.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So how many miles will you, or how many kilometres will you have walked by the time you reach Canberra?
By the time I reach Canberra, it'll be about 7,000 kilometres. But that's not the end of it. I'm looking at the future aspects. I'm looking at the aftermath. I'm not going to get to Canberra and leave this notice in their hands, because they've had these opportunities of our mob rallying against and putting forth motions in place, and yet there's nothing been done about it. So that's where I want this motion of healing and treaty negotiation has to come from us, has to come from the people of First Nations people, because we know the law of this land, and we know how the structural forms of that law that gets ignored put into place.
Is there somewhere where we can access the wording of this notice?
No, because it's forever adding on. Because it's the notices from the messages from all the communities I'm engaging with. So all adding into it. Fantastic. Yep. And I'm putting it in 2 different forms. I'm putting it in a government form, which is paper, and I'm putting it in our way of law, which is that traditional message stick. So.
Have you got the message stick?
I've got the other 3 in my bag, and this one here that I actually carry with. So, yeah. So
Does that come from Bamaga?
Sorry.
Has the message stick come from Bamaga?
No, they've come from all 3 different places. Yeah. Yep.
What are the 3 different places?
Bachelor, Guguyalanji, Birragubba, and Waka Waka country.
So you say you have 3 messages to give?
No, that's 3 message sticks that symbolise 3 different meanings. One is our history, one is colonisation, and one is healing.
So what are you going to say to the government?
Well, I'm going to submit the notice. So I'm literally just as if you would get a notice in your house that you have to evict your house. So, much the same. You've got to adhere to it, otherwise there's consequences. Yeah? So, this notice is a tribal law notice, an LORE law notice of the land, of traditions of the land, from the people of the constituents that they're supposed to be listening to. So this notice will be that they must adhere to part of Article 8 of the Indigenous Rights Declaration of making decisions for ourselves. And so we will be then taking that message to Uluru, where we'll have a traditional yarning circle, First Nations People Summit, and that way we can talk amongst ourselves with no government voices, no one else's voices, just us. And we come up with our infrastructure, our goal of how we're going to implement this is as gatekeepers before Nigel Scullin and Tony Abbott and all them other policy makers make decisions in our communities of the law of the land that's put into place for sustainability, for preservation, for language, law, education, customs, values, all those.
So would it be right to say that you feel that Aboriginal people have been marginalised?
Yeah.
And you're trying to redress that? You want to come in from the margins and you want to be at the centre. You want to be at the centre of a discussion about what's going on with Aboriginal people.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, you've got to look at the complexity of our culture as well. There's men and women's business. So, you know, there's one man can't necessarily make a decision for all of our communities. And plus each neighbouring country is all complex in their own issues and environments that they surround them. So, you know, you're looking at that scope. And our self-determination in our communities is when we live and breathe it, and not an annual year of a government coming in and seeing what's happening. That doesn't draw out the effects of the real issues that we need to be putting at hand. So marginalising by making decisions that they have no culturally appropriateness to make those for, or understanding, then it's misled. There's no compromise, there's no healing put towards because they don't understand it.
So would it be right to say that you and your people feel dispossessed still?
Oh yeah, it's an ongoing. You've got to remember that prior to settlement here, there was over 250 sovereign nations across Australia, and within those different nations we had our own legislation, our systems and laws and values and customs that we adhered to, that were respectful to the land of where we come from. Instead, it was not taught that way. Instead, they just was savages, what we were called. They didn't realise that the oral tradition of our methods was so sacred and important, and we valued that, which is why we lost a lot of it. And if you're going to put a foreign income of law into a system that's already been placed for over 60,000 years and oppress that, that's an ongoing denial of me and genocide, just in a modern way of how we live today, of these infrastructures that put in interventions and put in policies to strictly bound us, to control us under government restrictions, when we have our own, which is not taught. That's what we need to put out, the awareness of our people, of who we are.
Of a great civilisation,
yes,
in fact.
Yes.
Whereas you've been treated as uncivilised people.
How did we survive for that long? People want to know, don't they? Why would you not embrace that history?
Could I ask you, you've been on a long journey and you've seen a lot of country. Did you see anything in particular, or have you taken note of any deterioration in the country?
Yes. There's been many. I mean, you're looking at it now. There's Walgett, no water. I've just walked past Wananura country coming into Awabakal country out where Muswellbrook Way, and they're surrounded by 16 mines, I counted, looking at the satellite. And you can see the air is polluted and poisoned, and I don't know how or understand how government can allow that happen to human beings for the sake of billions of dollars that don't preserve the land. You're going to dig up all this land and preservation. It's going to have a major cause and effect for the surroundings, not only for the animals and the waterways, but for the people itself. And they're not caring for country, looking after country. They're not listening to the people or listening to the land that is connecting us, that looks after us. Because human beings are not the top of the food chain here.
So would a fair part of your message, would it be fair to say that part of your message is to look after the country, and that Aboriginal people perhaps are best placed to do that.
Yeah, well, we have the history for it. Why not learn it and encourage it and put it into an education curriculum maybe?
So 2019 is the year of the Indigenous people via the UN Charter, and there's a focus on language. How important is it to preserve and to share what those original songlines and words are?
So important. Language is forever evolving, and it's always been there. And with us, you know, being oral people, then language to us, it identifies us from the different kind of neighbouring of who we are, you know, and it gives you your identity, gives you your self-worth or preservation and confidence to speak your tongue, to speak your language to your mob and know them storylines, and being able to share that with the Whanalo settlers or 5th or 6th Australian generations here can give them a connection to this land that they're foreign from, maybe, or their history. Because I find that along the way that a lot of Australians are also learning or earning for that healing because of the fact that they haven't got this connection here. You know, it's just this mentality of Aussie lucky country, and hereby beach bums and budgie smugglers and beer and Forex and BB, all that kind of stuff, you know? Whereas the culture here, and to learn that, man, we could just be amazing. So these are three message sticks that I will be presenting to the Prime Minister of Australia in May 2019. We have the history, we have the colonisation, and then we also have the healing. They're unfinished at the moment, as these are the only stories that I've imprinted of my walk thus so far, and I will continue to add on to it as my journey continues until I get to Canberra in May.